Hey folks, Eric the Old Jarhead here. I got a fun one for you today. After my truck broke down, this customer offered to pull the mill out to his location for me. So we packed up the Jeep and followed him out there and got busy. This first log, I gotta tell you, was a little short and very oddly shaped, as you can see here. It was just a bear. It was really tough to turn, and you're gonna see that I spent a lot of time messing around with it, trying to get it turned on the deck. But we got it turned, and we were able to get started on it. The problem with Black Locust, besides the fact that it's really, really hard, it's the hardest domestic hardwood we've got here in the US. When it's an old tree like this one, is the bark gets very furrowed and it picks up a lot of rocks and dirt and that kind of stuff. As we go through milling up all this Black Locust that you can kind of see in the background a little bit, you'll find that we spend a lot of time digging dirt and rocks out of the bark just to try to keep the band from getting dull. Once we got that log loaded up on the deck and I got it kind of positioned reasonably well, we had to kind of lift it up with a cant hook so that we could clamp it in place and have it lifted solid. And you can see bark flying. Boy, I tell you, with that debarker on, you're trying to cut the bark through so that you can get a clean surface for the band to run into. And, you know, so you're going to see some bark flying here today. And I'm sure you see that umbrella. This is fairly early, about 8 a.m., maybe 8:30 by the time we got started. There's a piece of bark that hit the camera. And that umbrella actually really helps quite a bit. It does help shade. You know, you can see it's only shading my head at this point. And I will tell you, in this particular area, there's a lot of wind and it did break the umbrella. So by the time I get to day 2, you'll notice there's no more umbrella. It got broken after that first day. But we got going and we started milling this log down, and I have to tell you, this one was quite the challenge. And you get a couple cuts off the top, you get it flattened out, then you got to try to turn it. And this thing was just such a gnarly log that it just did not want to turn, and I had to use every trick in the book that I knew to get this thing to turn reasonably well on the deck. And perhaps maybe using a cant hook might have helped out a little bit. But you know, I'm kind of a stubborn jarhead, and I'm gonna try my best to use the tools at my fingertips to get this log rolled in place. And I do. I managed to get it rolled. We'll keep milling and we'll knock it down, and you're going to see that we're going to run into some trouble with this log. Now, normally, once I get that opening face, I'm going to roll that 90 degrees to the side supports, but this log was just so gnarly. It just was not a nicely shaped log. I opted to go ahead and roll it 180 degrees to try and whittle it down a little bit and get it to a manageable shape. And sometimes that's what you have to do. Sometimes you just gotta get in there and knock down some sides to it and get it into some kind of manageable shape so that it's a little easier to move around on the deck. All right, got another face cut. So I'm gonna roll it again, and again, this thing, you can see it. It is not wanting to play with me here. This thing was maybe 6-7 feet long. Not really a long log, and just the shape of that log and the position of the log clamp as well really makes it tough. And usually I'll try to move a log down the deck and get it to where the log clamp actually is a little better at helping the log turn and roll things around. But with a log like this, sometimes you just can't move it down the deck. So we get it rolled up and get it back to that 90 degrees to the side supports, and away we go. We'll start knocking it down. But, you know, this would be a really short video if this log went easily. So stick around. Let's see what happens, because I'm going to tell you, this one here definitely caused me some fits and was a big challenge. I think this log took about twice as long as any log should have taken, notwithstanding that I had to do some work on the mill, as you're going to see here in a little bit. Alright, it's not cutting well. So at this point I thought, you know, it's not cutting very well. It probably hit some dirt. Better change the band. Not a good start to the day. But you know, you just never know. I suspect it probably was a rock in that crevice. Well, we will put a fresh band on. We got a log that's almost square now. We almost got a cant on the deck. So you know what? We're going to go ahead and we're going to start knocking this guy down, right? No worries. All's well in the world. It's a little warm, but I got that umbrella shade me kind of nice. and here you go. I'm going to roll it again, and I'll tell you, the way that log was positioned and the shape of that log, it just did not want to roll for me, but we'll get it rolled. Now we got a fresh band, right? All is well in the world. Should be no problem. Should be able to knock this guy down now, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to just start rolling and knocking it down. No worries, right? Well, I'll tell you, as I was making some of these cuts, I noticed that I was starting to have some feed problems again. So, again, we'll roll the log, get it into a good position, and we'll make some more cuts. But I definitely was having some trouble with my forward feed. Now, reverse is fine, but forward gets a little jerky sometimes. And I had talked to wood-mizer about it before this job. They'd suggested maybe I had a bad power module, so I got one to replace, but after cleaning the drum switches, everything seemed to be running fine. And I thought, well, let me wait and see what happens. Maybe it was just dry drum switches, right? Well, I continued to try to work with this. You know, I'm a stubborn jarhead, and I'm thinking, you know, it's acting up a little bit. Maybe I can get this log off the deck before I have to worry about trying to sort it out. So I kept going. I kept trying to work this log. Got it finally in a place that I could pretty much turn it without any real trouble. So we're almost down to a cant. We're really getting going here, and we're going to start knocking it down. And again, we're struggling a little bit with the feed, but it was working okay. It was mostly working all right. I'd say probably 90% of the time, 95% of the time, it seemed like it was feeding okay. And if it acted up a little bit, I would just turn up my speed control a little bit and kind of work it and try to keep it going. And I thought, yeah, we're going to get it. And then it didn't feed. And so messed around, and then it went again. finally getting to that point, despite feed problems. You know, life is good. I think we're going to get this log milled up, but I was having trouble, so I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to get this thing sorted out. However, it got to the point it just wasn't feeding right, so I had to shut her down and start working on it.
Well, this piece of wood kind of sucks.
Yeah, this piece of wood is definitely not working out very good. But I have a problem that I thought I fixed.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, true that. It'll be pretty wood when we get into stuff that's not rotted like that. Pretty stuff.
Yeah.
I was gonna take this one down to 6 and then knock it down and get it off the deck. Just get past as much of that rot as I can.
Yeah.
But I got a feed problem. Yeah, it's the old jar head that I came in and visited y'all and bought a part from James. And then I thought I didn't need that because the lights weren't doing what he said, I think. And now, and I cleaned my drum switches, everything was working great, and then it just quit on me again. So I'm stalled at a customer's job site. Well, folks, I thought I'd fixed my feed problem. Looks like I haven't. So if my truck isn't giving me troubles, now the sawmill's giving me troubles. So I call this Murphy's Law. I've got some Black Locust to get done, so hopefully James from wood-mizer will call me back right away and I'll get this thing fixed. And we'll get back to milling. So in your world, it's going to be just a second or two probably, but for me, it could be an hour. Wish me luck. Despite the very, very poor cell coverage I had down in this hole, I was able to get a hold of wood-mizer and I tore the controls apart. I ran a bunch of tests and everything came up bad. Nothing was right. The entire rear control panel was not giving me any decent readings, and we came to the conclusion that I would have to replace the entire rear control panel. Thinking I was going to have to pull off the job, I decided to make one more decision. I thought, you know, I put it all back together. Let me see if it still works. And you can see I got the sawdust chute up still. You know, I finally put it down. But when I put it back together, everything was working fine. So I went ahead and completed this log, and you know, we ended up getting it down there. It wasn't the prettiest log in the world, but it did make some really nice lumber with some really nice grain patterns. I wish I could show those to you. Unfortunately, when I'm out on a job like this, the job is to get the logs milled up, get the customers' logs turned into lumber for them, and then pull off the job site. So I didn't have time to get pictures, but you know, I'll try to see if I can't get some for you in the future. There's more videos coming. This log was not the toughest log on this job site, so wait till the next video comes out. And I gotta ask you, can a 6-year-old run a wood-mizer LT40? We're gonna find out. Y'all take care. Thanks for watching. The old Jarhead out.